If I'm reminded of anything from the return of Lord of the Rings into pop culture, it's that gentle warmth that comes from aggressive fantasy gatekeeping. Also, aside from that, I'm reminded of the value of venturing outside the Shire. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take our time and we're going to venture outside the first 3 frets for maybe beginner, intermediate guitar players. What we're going to do is we're going to work on expanding what you know in this area, and we're going to bring it outside into this area. Not so far into the depths of Mordor where you need a cutaway guitar, but we're going to start working here. So we're going to do this in the easiest key, I think, the key of C, and we're going to start with just some of the basic C major chords. All right, so we got the chord of C major and the chord of A minor. We're going to start with this, but we're going to branch off into a bunch of different stuff, right? So again, pointer finger first fret on the B string, ring finger second fret on the G string, middle finger second fret on the D string, and then that open A chord right here, okay? And then you just pivot your ring finger to the 3rd fret of the A string, okay? So you probably already have seen this position. All right, and then maybe something that you've seen when it comes to scales or something like that is to learn your scales in open position, all right? What I mean by that is if we just have the notes in the key of C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, no sharps or flats. If we just played them in this position where those open chords always sit, you'd end up with this. The low E string would be open 1, 3. The A string would be open 2, 3. The D string would be open 2, 3. The G string would be open 2. B string open 1, 3. E string open 1, 3. So E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. By the way, I'm shooting this from a high-rise in New York City, which is why you can hear constant blaring of sirens for all the terrible crime happening right now. Now, I do think that like learning this can be, it's a great exercise for sure. But it's like, how practical is that just to go up and down? I think a better way to learn this is just across one string, and that's how we're going to get farther into the fretboard, okay? So, if we start with just that A minor, I want to focus on 2 strings and where those notes are going to be. All right, so the A string and the D string. So basically the A string, remember we have open, 2, 3, A, B, C. Well, let's kind of continue into the fretboard. A, B, C, D. Open 2, 3, 5. And then the same thing for the D string. Open 2, 3, 5. Okay, so these mirror each other. A, B, C, D. Another D, E, F, G. Okay, so it's one thing just to play them back to back, but it's cool because they're symmetrical. They're the exact same pattern across 2 strings. Now, I don't see this taught a lot because you have the redundancy of playing the same note twice, right? A, B, C, D. This note right here is just gonna be the next string. But I think that it makes a lot of sense when you start pairing them with chords. So if we start with that A minor, now you'll notice that your middle finger is already on that 2nd fret of the D string. Now we can move it into the position. One of my favorite ways to do that is maybe do like a 1, 2, 3, 4. Like a bar of the chord, and then a bar of just kind of like messing around with a little riff, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can make that like an exercise. You can get a little fancier with it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like anything you want to do, but just focus on that one string, and then you'll always know the notes that are available in that one string. And you can also notice that it's the same thing for the A string. So do the first time, and then we'll do on the A string. And it's just one chord. And then because the root note is that open A string, it sounds good when we kind of back our way through to it. Okay, so these are just the two strings, the A and the D string. By the way, I'm rocking out this D'Angelico Excel Bowery. I was at their showroom today. They let me borrow this guitar for the week. I picked this one because I also looked online, and it's under $1,000. And if you get it through the Sweetwater link, I think you save like $250 because you get like Sweetwater cash back. So, not sponsored, but again, really cool guitar. So this is why I chose this one. Shout out to D'Angelico for letting me borrow this guitar for the week. Because I'm not in Florida, by the way. That's New York City behind me, just in case people had forgotten. Outside of the Shire, people. So that's just going to be two strings on top of the A minor chord. The next thing we're going to do is going to be the high B and E strings, right? I don't know why I said the high B string. There's only one B string. But the other thing I like about that is if we start open 1, 3, 5, B, C, D, E, and then the high E string. Open 1, 3, 5, E, F, G, A. So again, they're the exact same thing. Now again, if you do it like that, it can be kind of a reach. But again, it's more about getting your mind's eye to know that these notes are available in any of the chords in the key of C. All of those chords being C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B half diminished, C. So now let's do the same thing with that A minor that we did with those two strings, but let's try it with the C major. All right, now the nice thing about playing a regular C major chord is your pinky is kind of a free agent, right? This is a great way to play that C add 9 chord where you just pop your pinky on the 3rd fret of the B string. You can lift your pointer finger up to make a totally different chord. C major 7, C major triad, C add 9. But again, remember that 5th fret is going to be the next spot we can go to. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I'm just making up a little melody using these higher strings, which are easier to hit, especially the highest E string. And again, remember, anything 5, 3, 1, open, 5, 3, 1, open is fair game here. C chord. Now I'm going to grab the 3rd fret. Right there, that's kind of like a cool little sounding thing that you can do. 3, 5, 3, 5, go to the high E string, hammer on 3 to 5, back to 3E, 5B, 3. And then back to C. Now, if you can't get back to that C, the great thing is, why don't you choose a chord to go to next that has an open string for a root note, like that A minor chord that we just did. So if you want to incorporate a melody like that, follow it up with an open root note to buy your hand time to get into the next position, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. A minor. Okay, so let's pick another chord and kind of get that into the game. Let's go G major. Now what I want to do is I want to do the G major where your ring finger is on the 3rd fret of the B string. And let's do a couple different things where we still pick a piece of what we just learned on the highest two strings, that open 1, 3, 5, open 1, 3, 5. Let's focus on just the 3, 5, kind of like we were doing before, and make a little, what I'm thinking of as like a box. And then again, your ring finger, put it on the 3rd fret, and then build that G chord back from it. All right, so now when we strum the G chord, you'll notice if we use your fingering like that, you can slide it back into the position that you're playing with. Now another cool thing that you can do here is we're gonna actually move this into like a lick playing position. That goes hand in hand with that G major triad. Again, a triad is just a 3-note chord, all right? So, some of you may have seen like a lick or something that looks like this. Okay, that's kind of like a triad sounding lick where you're sliding your middle finger into the 4th fret of the G string, and then getting the 3rd fret on the B string to the 5th fret, and then that little 4-note box that we just did, we're just adding that note to it, right? So, from this G major chord, we're really kind of limiting ourselves, constricting ourselves to this little box. But again, that can sound really cool, especially when you get good at kind of going forward and backwards through that little shape. So your ring finger is gonna lead the way to the 5th fret, and we're gonna back off into your middle finger being on the 4th fret of the G string, which is the same note as the open B string, right? But we're playing it in a different way. We're incorporating it in a different way. It's kind of wild how the sirens never actually stop here. Like, how do people live in New York? Sirens 24 hours a day. I love it. So it's like Rivendell, you know, having to put up with those like elves' pompous tones non-stop. It's kind of like the sirens in New York City. Anyway, back to it. So that all comes from that G string just being open, 2, 4, 5. Okay, where we get very kind of bluesy sounding lick right there. But remember, since we're learning them across one string, that little 4 to 5 hammer-on, I think is like a really cool thing that you could do. Again, this is a B note to a C note. So you could do a G, and that sounds kind of cool, right? And then back to G, then back to G. A minor. C. Okay, so again, that all comes from just experimenting, establishing a chord, and then just choosing 2 strings at random, and then just kind of making little riffs out of it, right? Now, I do think that melodically, you come up with maybe prettier sounding things if you use the higher strings to do it, but that doesn't mean you can't use the lower strings too. So let's take E minor, right? Just 2 on the A string, 2 on the D string. And then let's do the low E string and the A string. So now we've got open, 1, 3, 5. And again, easy to remember because the high string, open, 1, 3, 5. They're always gonna mirror each other. All right, so do that, and then open 2, 3, 5. So this is gonna be our 2-string scale, so to speak. And we're just gonna use those notes around an E minor. Again, the important thing to remember that like in the key of C and G, the open strings are all going to be in that key, so you don't have to worry about maybe hitting a wrong open string. They're all going to help you out, right? So here's E minor. In fact, that one right there is like a really great example, now that I'm playing it, of the Phrygian nature of it. Phrygian is just the name of the mode that E minor is in, where you have that E to that F. So again, just using the lower strings really kind of help you get the flavor of what's special about E minor in that key of C major. So again, you know, if you want to think of like, oh, where can I use that in another context, you could be like, all right, well, that F with a E minor in it, you could also get that 3rd fret on that D string. So you do that, you just take if I got my pointer finger on 2A and my middle finger on 3D, I can either bring my ring finger in to get that F. This is in the same key still, but having that minor second, as it's called, really kind of dominates the sound of. This is cool things you can kind of like discover once you start adding some of these notes just to all your different chords, right? So again, I think that's kind of like a cool way of exploring the fretboard, getting outside that 3rd fret, and then just making it so it's like, all right, well, these are the notes I have. Open 1, 3, 5, open 2, 3, 5, open 2, 3, 5, open 2, 4, 5, open 1, 3, 5, open 1, 3, 5. But the point is to not practice it like that. Maybe take 2 strings at a time so you know where they are in relation to each other in what'll usually end up being a more musical context. So thanks for sticking with it this long. Thanks again to D'Angelico for helping borrow this really cool guitar. Just looks classy, feels good. Big fan of D'Angelico for a long time. They have the best tufted sofas that I've seen in New York City so far, which is saying a lot. And if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.